Well, friends of the Maldini world, let's go with the ratings for this Athletic Club de Bilbao versus Real Madrid match. One, there's a lot to discuss. I'm going to cover both teams. It was, of course, a great match, a fantastic game from Athletic Club with many mistakes from Real Madrid. Athletic won a crucial match for them, and Madrid lost a game that could also be key. Naturally, we're going to talk about Mbappé, we're going to discuss Bellingham, and we're going to talk about Vivian. Athletic played an amazing game, the Williams brothers, all that and much more. All right, let's go for it. Well, friends of Mundo Maldini, as you know, we sponsor the city of Ceuta on your channel, Mundo Maldini, and I'm in another area, well, one of the highest points in the city, and here, what you see here is already Morocco. Here is the border crossing, and behind me, you have Morocco. We are just over 1 kilometer from Morocco, and of course, when you are in the city, you realize how such different cultures coexist in a city that is truly a marvel. You're also seeing images of what Ceuta is like, the first cities of Morocco, and we're going to talk about the match, but I really tell you, you have to visit it. You have to visit Ceuta. It's a city that captivates you as soon as you arrive. Honestly. Well, as you've seen, we are ambassadors for Ceuta, and this afternoon Ceuta is playing Osasuna in the Cup. Let's see what happens. You'll have some exclusive footage of the match for all of you from that Ceuta versus Osasuna Cup game. And well, the team isn't doing too well in the first division, but we have hope, and we're already preparing for the promotion celebration. I don't want to put pressure on the players of my beloved Ceuta, but all right. Now let's get to the ratings for the Athletic Club de Bilbao versus Real Madrid match. Let's go with Athletic Club. First, Aguirre Zavala. Well, he saved the penalty from Mbappé, had some pretty good interventions. I think the penalty that Rudiger committed was a mistake. A mistake by Aguirre Zavala, who came out a bit out of control, but then he saved the penalty from Kylian Mbappé. I'm giving Aguirre Zavala a 7 for Aguirre Zavala. Gorosabel had a good game on the right side, a pretty solid performance. Madrid tried to attack more, or they attacked more down the left flank where Kylian Mbappé was more active than on the right side. This meant he had to participate a lot more in defense. A 7 for Gorosabel. I like this game. 7 for Gorosabel. Now let's talk about Vivian. I know. Can get a bit repetitive, I admit it, with all of you Maldini world friends, but I've been saying for a while that Vivian is a spectacular centre-back. Spectacular, sensational level from Vivian. Sensational level from Vivian in the match and throughout the entire season. He was great in the air and he didn't make any mistakes on the ground. He was truly impenetrable at times, completely shutting down Real Madrid's attack. A 9, an outstanding score for Vivian. Sensational match from a sensational centre-back like Vivian. Jerry, man, he had a great game, not at the level of Vivian. He played really well. I'm not going to give him an outstanding score, but for me, he definitely deserves at least an 8.5. An 8.5. I really do give Jerry an 8.5. Adama, the left back, who we've seen playing in some recent matches, is a kid who shows a lot of promise for the first team of Athletic Club. But it's true that Madrid hardly attacked down the right. Valverde could have pushed a bit more at times, but not by much. And Lucas Vázquez didn't push forward in attack either. So Madrid attacked a lot more down the other side. A 6.5 for a lady, a 6.5 for a lady that performed quite well. Jaureguizar, well, that's just him. Right? Great job on the intensity, on the pressing. I liked it, I liked their game. They are players who find a little bit what Valverde wants. By the way, if Real Sociedad, the logically brother team of Athletic Club de Bilbao, is the team that presses the best in the league, and that's been proven many times, Athletic isn't far behind when it comes to high pressing. A 7 for Jaureguizar. Beñat Prados? Well, I think he was probably the midfielder who participated the least. Maybe the weakest link. Not that he had a bad game, of course. I'm going to give him a 6 for a player I really like. By the way, I really like Beñat Prados. Technically, I think he's very good. A 6 for Beñat Prados. Oyen Sanset didn't have his best game, to be honest. So, Athletic beats Real Madrid, but Sanset definitely didn't have his best game. He worked hard on the pressing, but in the second half he dropped off a bit. A 7, Sanset. I give him a low notable. I give him a notable knowing the level that Sanset has. So a 7 for Sanset. Let's talk about Iñaki Williams, the older brother of the Williams, who played on the right. There were few small position changes, but he started from the right wing. He had some good runs, but I have to say, he didn't have an overly brilliant game. I'm giving Iñaki Williams a 6, just a decent score, nothing more. Iñaki Williams, his brother Nico Williams, who plays on the left, he definitely had more runs. Neither did Athletic. Beat Real Madrid, and honestly, it wasn't the best game for the Williams, not by a long shot. Of course, looking at the glass half full, it shows the potential this team has. I'm convinced that Athletic Club of Bilbao, by the way, has to fight with Villarreal for the 4th spot. I think it's either Villarreal or Athletic Club of Bilbao. One of them is going to be fourth. Although it's true that the fact that Athletic is going to play in the Europa League final, well, they're going to play. I hope Athletic Club is there, of course. I hope we have a Spanish final. Can you imagine what a Basque derby would be like in that Europa League? Final that's going to be held at San Mamés. I think that's going to make the team focus a lot, and it could hurt them a bit in the league. That said, I'm going to give Nico Williams a 7.5. I like Berenguer. Let's see, he scores the first goal, and he has a very clear chance in the first half, the clearest one for Athletic Club, but he sends it over. I liked it. It was a nice move by Valverde to place him as a false 9 up there. In the first half, moved really well. I'm giving Berenguer an 8. I liked Berenguer's game. An 8 for Berenguer. And then the substitutes. Guruzeta, who didn't play many minutes, but it's true, that when he comes on, Athletic Club plays with a centre forward and scores the winning goal. He steals the ball from Valverde because of that mistake by Valverde, and in the end it results in Zeta's goal. So it's a 7.5 for the match goal. Although in Italy, gol partita means exactly the goal of 1-0. When a match ends 1-0, it's the goal of the only goal of a match is the winning goal. This isn't the winning goal as such, but it's the goal of victory. For Galarreta, well, a 6 for Galarreta. He played in midfield and worked well. Maybe a 6 for Unai Gomez too, a player who has great strength to reach the final third. And I'm giving Oscar De Marcos a 6.5. 6.5 for Oscar De Marcos. Maybe Real Madrid 2009, Juli Berchiche played very little, so I'm not going to rate him. And to Ernesto Valverde. Valverde, who came out victorious from the match. Then we talk about the other Valverde, the one from Real Madrid. Well, it was a great setup. I really liked Berenguer as a false 9. The team worked really hard. They went out, of course, at San Mamés without any complexes against Real Madrid, feeling like they could go toe-to-toe. And they did, obviously, and ended up winning the match. It's true that when Madrid was at its best, that mistake by Valverde happened and it cost them on January 2nd, but I think it was a very deserving victory. An 8.5, it doesn't quite get to an outstanding for Chinguri, but definitely an 8.5 for Ernesto Valverde. Let's talk about Real Madrid. There's a lot to analyze, friends of Mundo Maldini. Let's talk about Thibaut Courtois. Well, for the second goal, I can't do anything. He comes out to close down, to cover as much as he can, one-on-one. Guruzeta's goal, fine. For the first goal, I think he could have done a little bit more, just a little bit more, but it's not a catastrophic error. But, well, he didn't have any miraculous interventions either, so I'm giving Courtois a 5.5. 5.5 for Courtois. Lucas Vázquez? Madrid needs a right-back. That's the reality. Madrid needs a right-back. I don't know if they're going to go to the market or not, but Lucas Vázquez isn't good enough to be the right-back for Real Madrid in matches against teams that are really going to go all out, against teams that have truly stepped up in quality. Liverpool is still above, but Athletic falls into that category. You can really tell, friends of Mundo Maldini, and that doesn't mean he can't have a great game every now and then, because I remember a match he had against Barca, sensational, because in attack he's a player who can cause damage when he gets there, but when it comes to defending, it's a 3.5 for Lucas Vázquez, and on top of that he barely contributed in attack. 3.5 for Lucas Vázquez. Asensio. Well, look, when a young guy comes into such a big team like Madrid, there's definitely a tendency to be lenient, and that's normal. But honestly, I don't think Asensio had a great game yesterday. For the first goal, I think he has some responsibility, not all of it, but definitely some. He had some good crosses, he positions himself quite well, but overall he was probably one of the better players for Real Madrid. But I still don't agree that he had a standout game yesterday. I'm giving Asensio a 6, a decent score, nothing more. He had some good crosses, he positions himself quite well, but he was definitely one of the better players for Real Madrid. Still, don't agree that he had a standout game yesterday. I'm giving Asensio a 6, a decent score, nothing more. I liked Rudiger more than Asensio. He causes the penalty. Hitting that ball to the goalkeeper, and it results in a penalty. Aguirre, Zavala, I think he was pretty good at the back. He was one of the best for Real Madrid. A 6.5 for Rudiger. Fran Garcia. Well, he has a problem on the left side for Madrid because in the end, he was starting to count more on Fran Garcia. Yesterday's match was, would almost say, disastrous. Fran Garcia's match was almost disastrous. Friends of Mundo Maldini, there are constant delivery errors. 1, very bad, very bad. Fran Garcia, a 3. You know that below a 3, those are players who either get themselves sent off or things like that, but a 3 is a clear fail. A 3 for Fran Garcia. Tchouaméni, well, it's true that he's coming back from an injury. Let's soften that a bit. He's coming back from an injury, that's all true. Camavinga isn't there. And I have no doubt that when Camavinga recovers, Tchouaméni has to be a substitute for Camavinga. No question about it. He played really poorly. I also gave Tchouaméni several pointers, To be a defensive midfielder, you need to have more intensity. You need to be more focused. There were some plays where he wasn't focused defensively. I think he had a horrible game. So a 3 for Tchouaméni as well. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Tchouaméni. I think Madrid maybe. Well, I'm sure that if Madrid gets a good offer for Tchouaméni, they're going to sell him. I mean, I think they're going to sell him. Well, they should sell him. What if they don't? I think it will be a mistake. And I think that as a centre-back, he could at some point replace some player. He could provide an emergency solution as a centre-back, certainly in midfield. As soon as he returns to Camavinga, I don't see him. Anyway, I've already mentioned it. I think a 3 for Tchouaméni. A 3... Fede Valverde, well, it's clear that we can't overlook the serious mistake that cost Real Madrid on January 2nd, just when Madrid was doing better. So, Fede Valverde gets a failing grade. He ended up playing on the wing in the last few minutes, but he gets a 4. A 4 for Fede Valverde. It's a shame because he kind of takes the blame. As we say here, he ends up being the face of the defeat with that mistake, but it was definitely just bad luck. A 4 for Fede Valverde. It's a shame because he kind of takes the blame. As we say here, he ends up being the face of the defeat with that mistake, but it was definitely just bad luck. Well, bad luck. It's clearly his mistake, but he definitely doesn't deserve to be the face of this defeat for Madrid. A 4 for Fede Valverde. Dani Ceballos, well, at times he had the ball. He tried a few things, but, I mean, we're talking about Real Madrid, friends of the world of Madrid. We're talking about Real Madrid. I mean, for me, Dani Ceballos in this kind of match, well, it's okay, yeah, fine, but it's Real Madrid. I don't think he meets the level, honestly. I don't think he met the level yesterday. I'm going to give him a flat 5, just a plain 5. Jude Bellingham. I mean, I really admire Jude Bellingham. I mean, yesterday he even scored a goal by chasing down a rebound. Sometimes it seems that if you compare Tchouaméni with Jude Bellingham, it is also a slightly exaggerated comparison, logically, but you see a player who has intensity, who is permanently committed, and another who could not be more successful, less successful, but the work guarantees it. Jude Bellingham, I'm going to give him a notable score. I'm going to give him a 7.5. I think he was the best for Madrid by far yesterday. Jude Bellingham, a 7.5 for Jude Bellingham, who also scored the goal. That gesture, that image of him on the ground when on January 2nd, it's really the absolute defiance. But of course, as Di Stefano said, a player can never do more than the whole team together. And that's what's happening to Jude Bellingham, but a 7.5 for Bellingham. Rodrigo, weak game from Rodrigo. Once again, weak game from Rodrigo. Another player who doesn't justify being a starter after the injury. Let's see. Then I'll talk about Endrick and Güler when I discuss Ancelotti. Rodrigo gets a 4.5, a 4.5. At the end of the video, it's Ancelotti. Kylian Mbappé, so, well, what can I say about Mbappé if Madrid signs the man who was potentially the best player in the world? And I'm not getting off that ship. When I saw Mbappé playing for Paris Saint-Germain, not last season, but the previous ones, he seemed to me to be potentially the best player in the world. And what we're seeing here is a much lesser version of Kylian Mbappé, who also misses another penalty. Well, that's just more fuel to the fire. Logically, he has the personality to want to take it. We can't take that away from him. He sees there's a penalty and quickly steps up to take the pressure. That's true, and we won't deny that. But then he misses it too. So, no more than a 3 for Kylian Mbappé. And we'll make a video about him in the coming days before the next league match, analyzing a bit of what's happening with him. A 3 for Kylian Mbappé. Now let's move on to the substitutes. Brahim, well, he tried to get involved, but honestly, he didn't generate much. A flat 5 for Brahim. Luka Modric has shown that he can't be a starter game after game. Madrid needs him, but he just can't keep up as a starter anymore. He was in Anfield, but yesterday he wasn't and played not too many minutes. A 6 with him organizes the team a bit more. A 6. Mendy, well, he hardly participated. I'm going to give Mendy a 4, no more than a 4 for Mendy. Then Endrick and Güler played very few minutes, and I'm not going to rate them. To talk about Ancelotti, I'm going to start with Enrique and Güler. Let's see how Madrid is doing. Honestly, with the injuries they have, with Rodrigo just recovering and not being well, it's practically impossible to justify that Endrick doesn't play some games as a starter and that Güler doesn't play more. I have to say I was disappointed with Güler in Anfield, but it doesn't justify that Endrick doesn't start some games. We'll see if Endrick plays in Girona in the next match or not, because I also think that Mbappé, with a centre forward next to him, could be a bit of a solution. Madrid doesn't have to go crazy trying to find a way for Mbappé to start functioning. Maybe what they need to do is leave him on the bench for a game, and that's okay. No matter how much his name is Kylian Mbappé, it's fine. But speaking of Ancelotti, Well, I don't really know what he's aiming for, and how Madrid is playing is like this. I'm going to fail him. I'm going to give Carlo Ancelotti a 3. I don't know how much patience Florentino Perez will have, as he's the one who has to make those decisions with Ancelotti. Madrid now has a game in Girona, which isn't easy. Then they have a really tough match in Bergamo, and if they don't win that match, even if they draw, I'm not even talking about losing, just drawing that match, they face a Christmas. Very likely outside the top 24 teams in the Champions League. Can you imagine the nougat, right? The nougat for Ancelotti, if he even gets to eat it, which is still to be seen, and we can't rule out that he won't. So for now, 3 for Carlo Ancelotti. Anyway, victory for Athletic Club. I hope you liked the video, friends of Mundo Maldini, and as always, I want your opinion in the comments. A hug. Bye, 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 bye.